Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Debbie if you haven't been here before, and I read a ridiculous amount of books, I really do. And I've literally just finished another one called The Wife Between Us by Greer, Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. This is the third book that I've read by this pairing, and I'm just obsessed with their stories because they're just so intricate. Yes, that is the word I choose to use, intricate, because there's so much detail, and it's just the little things where you just... Because I mean, even with this one, there were times when I thought I'd figured out what the twist might be, and there were a few twists, but there's one twist I was thinking, is that person going to end up being this person? And yeah, it just didn't go where I thought it was going to go. But yeah. So, The Wife Between Us, that is the front cover of the book. Yeah, I'm just obsessed. It's 352 pages in crime and thriller and psychological fiction, target audience adult. Yeah, I agree with that. It is very, very dark and twisty. One of the quotes on here says, "What a fantastic story, and the twist completely blindsided me." There are several twists in here that were blindsiding. This was the first book that they wrote together, I think. Yeah, it's so good. So let's just read that blurb for you. When you read this book, you will make many assumptions. It's about a jealous wife obsessed with her replacement. It's about a younger woman set to marry the man she loves. The first wife seems like a disaster. Her replacement is the perfect woman. You will assume you know the motives, the history, the anatomy of relationships. You will be wrong. That's all that I've got in regards to the blurb. It's not a real blurb. It doesn't really tell you anything. Well, apart from the fact that you just will be completely wrong all the way through. It was it 3 sections to it, or 4? And at the end of each section there was just another twist. It's very unreliable narrator, and I mean, at the bottom of this it says that the film rights have been sold to the creators of Girl on the Train, and it was very Girl on the Train-esque, with the whole thing of you really don't know who to believe. It's all done from the point of view of Vanessa, and in the first section you're learning about Vanessa and Nellie, and then at the end of the first section there's a huge twist that I definitely did not see coming, and then you hear about Emma. It's basically these women's relationships with Richard, Vanessa's now ex-husband, and how these women were... Sorry, I got distracted by my face in the mirror. How vain is that? Yeah, so you're looking at the relationships that these women have with Richard, and how their relationships began, what happened during the relationship, and you start to wonder, because there were points where it's just like, can we trust Vanessa with the way that that story's being told? When you're getting flashbacks from Vanessa's life before New York, because she grew up in Florida, you're trying to work out how that fits in with now, with what's happening with her relationship with Richard, because you realise there's a life in Florida that she's trying to escape from, that she thinks is catching up with her. There's a bit of a twist in that as well, and it's just so good. I love this pairing so much. From what I read at the end, after the epilogue, I think one of them was originally an editor. I can't remember which one, between Greer, Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. One of them was the other's editor, and then they started writing together, with The Wife Between Us being the first book they actually wrote together. I mean, I'm still convinced that one of them has a background in psychology because of how intricate it is. I think I've referred to these kind of mysteries before as like a puzzle, where you're trying to fit the pieces together, where, you know, instead of starting with the edges, you're starting off in the middle, and like you're starting off like trying to find all the bits of a rose bush, and then you're trying to find a cupboard, and you just can't see how the picture fits together. At the end of each section of this book, there's a twist that kind of ties it in with the last bit. Oh. Because of the way the twists come out, there's not really much I can say without spoiling it. But I will say, Vanessa and Nellie, the way, because you're introduced to both Vanessa and Nellie in the first section, and the twist at the end of that section when you realise that the way it's been written in a way to kind of trick you. It's so good. It's so good. It's so twisty-turny. There are so many twists and connections to those twists. Oh, does that make any sense? Can you see the cogs turning in my brain as I'm thinking about this and trying to understand it all? There were points when it was hard to tell if, because Vanessa is painting this picture of Richard as the perfect husband but also an abusive husband, and you're trying to work out which it actually is, because there are certain times in the book where you're just like, has Vanessa just completely lost it? And then as you go through and you get more information about Richard, you're just like, no, he's a bit psychotic as well. And then as you go through and you realise there's a bit of a pattern to Richard's behaviour, and then there's another twist at the end where you see somebody else who was in Richard's life. Oh, it was so good. It was so good, and it just kept me guessing. I read this in about 3 days, and I did not want to put it down. I just did not want to put it down at all. I think I just sat and just read about 100 pages today. And I also been reading it on my phone because I realised I could download the app onto my phone so I could read it at work a bit more easier. Because I've been taking like big books, like physical books, to work. And then I realised that because I was reading the physical books off the bookshelf, I was coming to the end of my time reading the books on BorrowBox, because it's kind of like the way a library works where you have the book for so long and then you have to return it. It's such a weird concept to have that on an app as well, because I remember having a conversation with my parents and my cousin as well, and they were just like, but it's an ebook, so why do you have to return it? And the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, it is a really weird concept for an app, where you actually have to return the book. And at the moment I've got 5 books that I've reserved because they're not available yet. I think that one makes a bit more sense because obviously there's certain points when books actually make it onto like the bookshelves and certain times when books make it into libraries and online. So the fact that I can reserve books when they're not released yet makes perfect sense to me. It's the fact that, you know, because I realised that with my last book, Give Me Your Hand, there was a point when I was about halfway through and I was just like, wait, I've got 2 days left and I cannot renew this. So I've got 2 days to make sure that I read this book and finish it off. And it happened again with The Wife Between Us when I realised, oh, this is expiring tomorrow. As I say this, I was getting things saying this expires tomorrow. And to be honest, I could renew it, but I didn't want to. I just thought, no, I'm going to sit and I'm going to read this. I'm so glad I did. Yes, I just did not want to put it down. It was just so twisty-turny, and the way all the pieces fit together at the end. And there was a point when I was just convinced that I'd figured out one of the last twists, but it went in a completely opposite direction to where I thought it was going to go. Just like, oh, is it going to turn out to be this? And it was just like, why did I never consider that part of the story and who this person could be? Oh, because the final chapter, you are getting it in the first person from somebody completely different, and you're trying to work out who that person is. So when it came out who it was just like, oh, that is not who I thought it was going to be at all. I thought I'd figured it out. To be honest, I think quite early in the book, when you started to get more about Vanessa's life in Florida and the secrets that she was keeping, I was just like, oh, is so-and-so going to end up being that person from her life back in Florida? And even though it was connected to Florida, it wasn't the person who I thought it was going to be. But it really did bring it full circle. I feel like this is to complete, because I'm trying to keep the plot quiet on this one, because of how many twists and turns there is in it. Just saying what the end of the first section's twist is would completely... It would be a massive spoiler. It really would, and I don't want to destroy that storyline for people. This is one you really just have to read it to understand it. Read it and then come back and watch this and you'll see what I mean. But it's also looking at the relationship between Richard and his sister, where it's just like, is this going to end up being like something which apparently... And that was just... I think maybe I just read too many thrillers and psychological stuff when my brain, as soon as we met Richard's sister, I thought Richard's sister was going to be somebody completely different, but my brain had just created a twist that wasn't there. I'll tell you what that one was. I was convinced that Richard's sister was going to end up being like his mother or something, because I was just there going, this seems to be a really bizarre relationship, and is it going to be that it's his mother? But no. I'm not sure if it was just a red herring that led me down that route, or if it was just my brain adding more twists because there were already so many twists anyway. My brain was just there going, oh, I'm sure there's going to be another twist here as well. So when you do find out about a little bit more about the relationship between Richard and his sister, and it was just like, oh. But I must admit, the twist of her being Richard's mother would have been epic, considering everything else that goes on. I feel like I've literally said nothing, because all I've done is given you some character names and put in the questions that are literally in the blurb. You know, you make many assumptions and you'll be wrong with all of them. As you learn more about Vanessa and her relationship with Richard, and you go from believing one thing to then going, oh wait, no. And seeing her relationship, I use that word loosely, with Emma, Richard's new fiancée. Oh, this book is ridiculous. Because, as I said, you know, you're hearing it all from Vanessa's point of view. You hear about Nellie, and then you hear about Emma, and then towards the end of the book, you start to get point of views from Emma, and then somebody else who you're not completely sure who that person is. Oh, this is such a hard one to talk about, can you tell? The tagline on the front of the book is, she's not who you think she is. And looking at the title, The Wife Between Us, when you're looking at who that could be referring to, and there's a few options throughout the book of who that wife between us could be. Is it that Vanessa is the wife between Emma and Richard? Is Emma the wife, as in the potential wife, between Richard and Vanessa? Is it the question mark who is the wife? And then by the end of it, you realise it's almost somebody else entirely, who is mentioned in the book. It's brilliant. I'm wondering how this will be done as a movie. It would be done with lots of flashbacks, I think, because it's not linear. You see Vanessa in the present day, and you see her going backwards, kind of sideways in a way. Oh, I feel like my brain is exploding with everything in this book. And if I keep talking, this is just going to get even more confusing, which it is already confusing. It's a romantic thriller filled with suspense, and it's the first collaboration between Greer, Hendricks and Pekkanen. But yeah, I mean, it's mentioned in some of the reviews that it says in the vein of Gone Girl and the Girl on the Train. When I first saw that, I was just like, really, Gone Girl? Actually, now I think about it, it has got elements of Gone Girl to it. But Girl on the Train is the first thing that popped to my brain while I was reading this book. Because if you've read The Girl on the Train, I can't remember if I ever talked about Girl on the Train on here, or if that was a book that I read before I kind of really got into this. The Girl on the Train play was at the theatre that I work at. It was so good on stage. I mean, they changed stuff, and they changed some quite significant parts for the play. But ultimately, with The Girl on the Train, it's that whole idea of somebody who is being manipulated, and especially when you look at the on the girl on the train when you look at Rachel's blackouts and things, and you're trying to work out if she actually has had a drunken blackout or if somebody is manipulating her memories. And there is quite a manipulation in The Wife Between Us, which you're aware that it's happening, but in a way you're trying to work out who is doing the manipulation. At times it felt like Vanessa was manipulating things, and at times you could tell that Richard was manipulating things. And then there was a point to me just like, is Emma manipulating things? And the whole thing with Vanessa and Nellie, oh, there's a big manipulation there. So you've got the manipulation of the characters, but you've also got manipulation from the authors. That's what gets you, especially with the twists. That's where the manipulation really comes in. And just the end of that first section with Vanessa and Nellie, that's the bit that really blew my mind and kind of set me up for the rest of the book, when I'm just like, wait, I cannot trust anything I am reading here, because the end of that first section just completely puts that whole first section on its head. I've read this whole thing and just thinking, oh, I think I know what's happening, and it looks like there's a kind of a pattern of behaviour for Richard. And then you get to the end of that first section and you're just like, wait, I almost need to reread this entire section because it's not what I thought I was reading. I need to shut up. Oh God, my brain actually hurts now from everything I've just said. I need more. I need more. Greer, Hendricks, Pekkanen, I need more. And you are now my favourite authors. It's just so brilliant. And it really is a case of you have no idea who to believe and who to trust. I'm just going to end it at that. So, The Wife Between Us, Greer, Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. That is your front cover. Just mind completely blown from this book. Anyway, my sister and my brother-in-law will be coming over soon because we're going to have dinner. My niece is here, so we've been playing with her this morning. So, thank you so much for watching. If you understood any of this, you've obviously read the book. If you don't understand it, then you need to read the book. My stomach is rumbling because I'm so hungry. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. If you do have any book recommendations, please let me know. Because, as you can tell, I just love reading. I just love being able to escape into that movie in my mind while I read. But yeah, so cheers, thanks a lot. I'm now going to go play with my niece. So, stay safe everybody, and see you later.